advising clients across the country. Here he is, your host, J. Christopher Boyd.
Welcome back to Something More with Chris Boyd. I'm here with Jeff Perry. Our show is a financial show. Thanks for being with us, and lots to talk about again. Never a shortage of topics.
Never. You know, sometimes when we're thinking about what are we going to talk about this week, we make a list and then we never get to the second half of the list.
Yeah, exactly.
It's there's so much going on, so many good things to talk about.
Well, this week I was thinking perhaps we could talk about the severe weather that happened on Cape Cod, and we had the unexpected storm where there was a tornado in Marston's
Mills, right?
There was flooding, and just within an hour, it was just like a ton of rain.
I saw on my Facebook page people talking about flooded basements and such, so very unusual.
And, you know, when you hear about stuff like that, it starts me thinking about insurance coverages and stuff. I probably should have invited one of our insurance experts to come on, but, you know, it's one of these things where just a reminder for everybody. Some of these things don't get handled the way you think they would. So
the way you expect they should.
Yeah. You know, you think I've got insurance for that. Well, floods, even if it's from rain, you know, runoff, well, that's a different kind of coverage, and maybe you need flood insurance to be prepared for the damage that can cause. Tornado, that's a windstorm.
Got a wind deductible.
And it can be on a wind deductible. It might not be. It depends on your
That's
policy.
Right.
There's different treatments. Is it a named storm? Is it, you know, how's your policy work, right? So struck me as, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say policy language is changing too. You know, it used to be, or at least my perception was, you'd go in and say, you wouldn't say this, but your agent would know, I want an HO3, like a standard homeowner's policy where everyone knew what it was.
Right.
So last January, when we were shopping around insurance, which I like to do every couple of years, I got this great quote from this company, and they sent it over, and I was like, we're going to go with them. And I started reading it, and it specifically excluded dogs, pets.
Yeah,
which you know, I have a very mild-mannered 10-year-old Smarty.
Very sweet dog. Yeah,
but I also know as a lawyer that dog bites and issues with dogs are very common homeowners claim or subject to litigation, or, you know, whatever the case might be. So I called them back and I said, how can you exclude dogs? I'd never seen a homeowner's policy that excluded dogs. And then they said, well, that's what our standard policy is now. We can add it with an endorsement for another $250. And all of a sudden my quote wasn't looking so good.
That's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you think you know what's in your policy, you might not. You might not be right.
You're someone who's comfortable reading contracts as someone who's got a law degree.
Well, there you go. You
know, not everyone is, and you don't necessarily. I mean, most people pick that up, and they're probably asleep in 5 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, at least ask your agent, right? If you know, has anything changed? You know, do you know I have a hot tub? Do you know I have a dog? Do you know I have a 16-year-old son? Whatever the case, whatever your hazard might be, right?
Yeah. No, it's a good point, and I think anyway that's the essence of my bringing this up is, well, it just as an aside, in Florida, you guys have really tough time with insurance right now. I
know that is in the news, but I do not see it
not affecting your area right now. That's good.
I hear about it, you know, people say, but like I said, I went out and got quotes, and I got several quotes, and it's still, you know, last January for us was reasonable. I'm a real estate broker down here as well, and I see the people getting insurance. So I'm not seeing it, but I certainly see it in the news. So maybe it's just certain areas. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no matter where you are these days, I think it feels like these severe weather issues come up, whether it's more often or not, I don't know.
Certainly in the news more often.
It sure is something you notice. And, you know, extreme heat, we just had floods and wind and, you know, around here, and who knows what else, you know, we'll have in the winter or whatever, but we were talking about earlier, the fires in Hawaii,
Hawaii, right?
and of course, I mean, we've all been dealing with the fires in Canada all summer long. This thing never
The
seems to end.
smoke, right? Right.
Yeah.
So,
So, but my point is, insurance is one of the things that we think of as an important part of a financial plan. Management, risk mitigation,
right.
and there's lots of ways we do that. We often talk about estate planning issues. That's
Hmm.
another, oftentimes a risk mitigation kind of a tool. But insurance is probably the first and foremost for people, whether it's make sure you have health insurance, make sure you have homeowners insurance or auto and so forth.
And the right limits. That's a big thing people gloss over quick. I need the insurance for the car, and they buy the minimum insurance to save a couple $100, and they're not covered against the things that could happen.
No, and yeah, I know it's one of these things where it's a budget issue, of course, but um, that when you think about that financial planning pyramid,
Hmm.
um, having insurance protection is core. It's one of the building blocks that you've got to build on. Because even if you're doing a great job creating wealth and growing your assets, if you don't have the right insurance protection, you can end up losing it all because of a lack of coverage for the kind of
Hmm.
thing you need.
And
So,
some insurances are permanent, meaning if you own a home or a car, you're always going to have those. But some of them, it's like life insurance, used for this is how I see it. Use it to replace your income, perhaps for a temporary time period while you're building that wealth.
yeah, that's a great point. I mean, not all insurance is the same, right? When it
Correct.
comes to life insurance, let's talk about life insurance for a couple of minutes because
Sure.
there's a lot of different types. Term insurance. You and I both tend to think about the role of insurance, death benefit insurance, coverage in case you pass prematurely. Most times, it's intended to be temporary. I want to have enough in case I don't live long enough to pay off my mortgage, get to retirement,
Right.
do
If
all the things that I'm
someone's
going to do to try to create wealth myself. But
Mhm.
if I pass too soon, I want there to be a mechanism that's going to create this money.
Right. If you
That's really
think
what
about the
insurance
typical young family who's, you know,
kids
two
and
incomes, kids, mortgage, trying to save for this and that, debt.
right.
And if one of those, especially if the primary breadwinner should suddenly pass away, the other person and child or children needs replace that income. That's where I typically, when I think of life insurance, that's where I typically start. Right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. And I think oftentimes people are underinsured.
Sure.
They think, oh, I've got $500,000 or something, and
Mm,
they're good. But I mean, a mortgage today is a lot, and it's
right.
probably going to be more when you get upgrade to different houses later on, or
Right.
whatever.
If you have yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you've got maybe childcare costs at one stage and college sinking fund you'd like for another. Um, we talk about income replacement oftentimes. I
Hmm.
just want a money machine that's going to create the income that I would make if I was alive. And of course, over time, that's going to be more
Right.
than it is today. You hope for most, especially for young families, right? But so, what's that require to create a chunk of money that can spit out an income stream equivalent to what you'd want to live on? It's significant, right?
It's more than people expect when they do the
Yeah, yeah.
kind of
And,
thought about it.
and yet,
And
term insurance is really pretty inexpensive
it
in the
is.
grand scheme of things. So, it's probably prudent to have, you know, uh, at least term insurance. One of the things that I've come across recently is that, there are times when you want permanent insurance, whether it's for estate tax planning or, in Massachusetts, we have a relatively low threshold for an estate tax. People can have between their house and their retirement account, it doesn't take much to get over $1 million. And
They have
that's
a
where
small
that
business or
threshold.
something. It's even. more
Yeah.
magnified, right? Yep.
Right, exactly. So, there are reasons in that instance. There's other reasons why people want to have insurance that doesn't go away, and it doesn't always have to do with growing cash value. Sometimes people think of it as a savings vehicle. I tend to ignore that as much as think of it as something that's just there. That's you want it to be there when you want it to be there, whenever that is. Okay.
hmm
But
hmm
in any case, I had a conversation with someone recently who thought they had whole life, but it turned out they had flexible, adjustable premium.
There's no shortage of titles
Well,
for
that's basically referred to generally as universal life.
universal, right? But for
And
the average consumer, I would suspect they see a title and have no idea what it means.
no, exactly. And again, like we're talking about, they're not reading the depths of the contract to really have an understanding of it. But in any case, one of the issues is universal life, depending on the type that you have, and there's lots of different variable universal. There's indexed universal. There's guaranteed death benefit universal. So unless you have the guaranteed death benefit type, you can have the process where if you don't keep paying your premium, uh, or if you use up the cash value,
Yeah, can
um,
eat itself, right?
it could go away,
Right,
and you might think you have something that's forever, but is not.
right.
And so, in any case, even these are issues that sometimes need review and a little bit of help in the process. And of course, one of the challenges is when you're dealing with someone who's compensated through commission, you don't know,
Mm.
is this my interest or is this their
Yeah, good
interest?
point.
You sometimes need a little
Very
bit
good point.
a little guidance or third party disinterested party to weigh in on it, but so that can be a helpful thought as well. um, I see that this is one of those things where life insurance can be a valuable tool, a valuable resource, and whether or not you have it designed to be something that goes away as you create the wealth and maybe you don't need it later on,
Right.
or whether you have something that you say this is intended for a purpose that I don't know when it's going to happen. So I want it to be there whenever. A buyout of a business is a good example.
Perfect example.
Any
Yep.
business, um, or an estate tax. If you have some wealth, but it may not be liquid, it's tied up in real estate or something
Right.
that might not be readily accessible to pay a tax like that.
Very individualized question.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But these all
Rules
can
of thumbs don't fit everyone.
no, yeah, exactly right. But these can be good reasons to entertain um, having something that is more permanent in nature. And there's lots of choices within that spectrum of possibilities. Um, I kind of like universal life because of its flexibility, compared to a whole life policy as a possibility. But um, there are differences in its reliability. Will
hmm
it be there when I need it?
Predictability, right?
Yeah, so there's trade-offs for these kind of the flexibility creates one set of benefits, but it can also create some challenges.
I want to go back to something that you said I want to emphasize is that if you're thinking about, what type of life insurance you need, your tendency might be to, you know, talk to someone who sells life insurance. And that may be where you end up, but you should also get some additional counseling and perspective either
Yeah, and put
before.
it into the context of your
Right.
financial plan because do you need it?
Well,
That's
I've had clients that, I talk to and they say, "So I think I need some additional life insurance." And you go through it and it ends up with you don't need any life insurance.
right.
No
Right.
one's depending on your income.
You're okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you go to a life insurance salesman, and I'm speaking broadly. There's a lot of
Yeah.
good people in the
Some
business,
are really
but you
great.
may go to a life insurance salesman, and you're going to come out with life insurance, whether you need it or not, and maybe not the right type. The commissions are very large in some of the
Yeah.
different policies. So, talking to your financial advisor, who's a fiduciary, meaning have your best interest at heart, and isn't the person selling you this product, is probably a great place to start. If you do that, you know what you need. You get some suggestions, you get some options, and then you can go out into the market and see what you can find if you need it.
Great points. And so that's a great point for us to end this segment. And thanks for being with us, everybody. And we want to just remind you that if you need help when it comes to any aspect of your financial planning or portfolio management. Our team is here to be a resource for you. You can find us through our website at Asset Management Resources, amrfinancial.com. We do offer a complimentary consultation, so we can get a chance to see if we can be a resource for you, or if it's a good fit, if we can help you with whatever your needs are. We help people with financial plans, with hourly consultations, and of course with ongoing portfolio management. In any case, at any stage of your plan, let us know if you need help. Reach out to us. And Jeff, thanks for being with me throughout the show.
Always a pleasure, Chris.
Until next time, keep striving for something more.
Listening to Something More with Chris Boyd, Financial Talk Show.
Asset Management Resources, LLC, and J. Christopher Boyd, CFP, provide investment advice on an individual basis to clients only. Proper advice depends on a complete analysis of all facts and circumstances. The information given on this program is in the nature of general financial comments and cannot be relied upon as pertaining to your specific situation. AMR, LLC cannot guarantee that using the information from this show will generate profits or ensure freedom from loss. Listeners should consult their own financial advisors or conduct their own due diligence before making any financial decisions.